What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Euro NBA video. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Dallas Mavericks and what their future looks like and why they might be the team to beat in the 2020s. So as you all probably know, the Dallas Mavericks have a really good team. Their team has one of the brightest futures in the entire NBA, and some might say they even have the best up and coming roster in the entire NBA. So let's start off with the obvious player, who is Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is currently only in his second season as an NBA player, and he's already one of the best young players in the NBA, and he's already one of the best NBA players in the entire league. He's averaging almost 29 points per game, 8.5 rebounds per game, 7 assists per game, and a steal a game, while shooting 46% from the field and 31% from 3 on 9 attempts per game. So as you can see, Luka Doncic is a really good player right now, and he's gonna become even better throughout the years because like I said, he's only in his second season. So basically, Luka Doncic is a freaking triple-double machine. He's already one of the best players when it comes to recording triple doubles, and he has one of the brightest futures in the entire league. I can see him possibly becoming the best European player in NBA history. Yes, that's how good I think he can become. Luka Doncic has all the intangibles. He has great court vision, he has great passing abilities, he has great scoring abilities, great rebounding abilities, he has great size. He's decent when it comes to three-point shooting, and he's great when it comes to drawing fouls, and he's only going to become better as he plays some more seasons in the NBA. As of right now, Luka Doncic is a really good player. The only areas that I think he should improve on is his three-point shooting. I think he needs to become more consistent, because although his shooting percentages are pretty decent, I think he can become better. And I also think he should probably become a little bit better on defense. His size does let him, contest shots at the rim pretty well, but I think he can become an overall better defender if he puts the work in and stuff like that. So Luka Doncic, like I said, I think he can become one of the greatest, if not the greatest European player in NBA history if everything goes right and if he stays healthy. I think it's a really good possibility. And now let's get on to the second best player on the Mavericks right now, Kristaps Porzingis. Kristaps Porzingis is also a really good player. He's 7'3". He's only 24 years old. He's also a really young player, and him and Luka Doncic are one of the best young duos in the NBA. And I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with throughout the 2020s. This season, Kristaps is averaging 19 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, 2 blocks per game, on 34% shooting from the 3 on 7 attempts per game, and 42% from the field. But he only played 51 games this year, so he was dealing with injuries throughout the season, and he didn't really get off to a good start at the beginning of the season. He had a slow start. A lot of people were worried about Kristaps, but he eventually found his groove, and right before the season got suspended, he was tearing it up. He had multiple, outings where he was just lighting the court on fire. He was scoring a bunch of points, blocking a bunch of shots. I'm pretty sure he had 3 games in a row where he scored 30 points and 5 blocks, if I'm not mistaken. So that's pretty impressive. And yeah, Kristaps Porzingis, he's just a really, solid player. He's good in the post. He's good with his three-point shot. He's good at contesting shots at the rim. And he's just an overall, important player for this Mavericks team. If this Mavericks team wants to, be serious contenders, Kristaps is going to be really important to them, because not only can he, bring some defense at the rim, but he can also bring some pretty good offense. If he becomes more aggressive like he was towards the end of this season, I think he can, become a really good player, somewhere around 25 points per game if everything goes right. And let's get on to some of the other players that the Mavericks have. So the Mavericks, their top 2 players are obviously Kristaps and Luka. They have some of the best role players in the league, to be honest. They have Seth Curry, who's a freaking knockdown shooter. Seth Curry is one of the best shooters in the entire NBA. This year he averaged 12.5 points per game, and from 3 he was shooting 45% on 5 attempts per game. He's just a really vital player. You can't leave him open, you can't sag off of him, and he's just a really good role player. And then there's also other players like Tim Hardaway Jr. Tim Hardaway Jr. is one of those players who, he's a really good scorer, and some nights he can even go off and just score 30 points. Like, I feel like every contender should have that player. That one player that can just, one night, if he has it going, he could just score 30 or 40 points. And Tim Hardaway Jr. is that player. He's a player who on average, he's, considered a role player, but some nights he can play like an all-star player. So Tim Hardaway Jr. is pretty good. Seth Curry is pretty good. They also have JJ Barea, who's a really good, point guard. They have Jalen Brunson, who's pretty good. Justin Jackson, who's also really good. They have Dorian Finney-Smith, who's also a really underrated player in the NBA. Willie Cauley-Stein, who can bring some defense. DeLon Wright, who's a really good and vital piece to this team. They have Courtney Lee, and then they got Boban Marjanovic, who in the last game of the season, he actually scored 30 points, which was pretty impressive. And, he brings size since, he's 7'4". This Mavericks team, their top two players are all-star type players. Luka Doncic is a superstar type player. Their role players are some of the best role players in the league. Like I said, Seth Curry and Tim Hardaway Jr. are two of the best role players in the league. And the same could be said about Dorian Finney-Smith and DeLon Wright. So currently the Mavericks have the 7th seed in the NBA. And if I was the Clippers, I would be scared to face up with the Mavericks as a first round opponent. Because like I said, the Mavericks, they have a superstar with Luka Doncic, they have an all-star with Kristaps Porzingis, and they have some of the best role players in the league. So, if I was the Clippers, I would be pretty scared to face up with the Mavericks in the first round. Because the Mavericks, they might look bad because they're the 7th seed, but, Luka missed some time, Kristaps had a pretty bad start, and, realistically, they should be probably hovering around the 5th or 4th seed, maybe even 6th seed. But since the injuries and Kristaps' poor start, they are the 7th seed. So yeah, that's all I really had to say in this video. Like I said, I think they could become serious title contenders within probably 3 years. So yeah, just comment down below what you think about the Mavericks, and thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.